New tonight, it is official. The Justice Department will release the redacted Mueller report on Thursday. But after weeks of publicity in which they were demanding this report, despite the no collusion headline from the Attorney General William Barr, will any of these lawmakers on the left finally be happy? I think we know the answer to that, right? Which is why the left has now moved on. And now they're setting their sights on the president's tax returns. Joining me right now is former 2016 Trump campaign advisor Michael Caputo, who says the FBI, the Obama FBI, attempted to frame him in the 2016 election. Michael, I know that they sent a Russian working for the U.S. government to try and entice you into something. We're going to get to that in a second. But first, your thoughts here on the Dems' attempt to get their hands on the president's taxes.
Well, I think they're fixated on it, actually. I remember all of this during the 2016 election. I believe that it's just like the wall. They're not going to give the president the wall, even though the wall is necessary. There's a crisis at the border, and it would save a lot of lives. They want the tax returns because the president is on a position about never giving them. That's why they want them. They want to defeat him finally at something. I also believe that they're going to try and find a path to impeachment with obstruction in this report. Obviously, collusion's off the table, so they got to go somewhere with it.
I think that they're a little stressed because, if I'm them right now, I'm actually kind of terrified because I think the tables are about to turn. I think that the Inspector General's report and the fact that the Attorney General of the United States of America, William Barr, is saying, yes, spying did happen in this campaign. Right. They're preparing themselves for something else entirely. They're trying to use the tax thing as a distraction. I would argue that the IRS is actually a federal agency, and so someone within our government has seen the president's tax returns. And I would think, as part of the Mueller investigation, he might have looked into a few of these financial angles as he tried to figure out whether or not the president was colluding with the Russians himself. That said, now they're trying to change things around because, Michael, you know what they were up to. Explain what happened to you and what you think Horowitz's report is going to get into.
Well, I had a Russian, a dangerous, violent Russian criminal who'd spent 13 years in jail in Russia and the United States for gun crimes in the United States call me up and offer me dirt on Hillary Clinton. I find out, shortly thereafter, by hiring a private investigator, that the guy had been working for the FBI as an informant for 17 years. In fact, was in the country on FBI informant visas for most of that time. And by the way, he's here now, still here, probably watching your show. I mean, the fact of the matter is I tried to give that information to the Inspector General. I tried to give that information to U.S. Attorney Huber out in Salt Lake. And they weren't interested at all. They didn't. I never heard back.
So
my attorney wrote to the Inspector General twice and never heard back.
Well, I'm glad you're getting this out there because people should know. So basically, you had someone from the Obama FBI hire this guy to come and try and entice you with this information, maybe in hopes that you'd say, sure, give it to me. It would be fake, false information. They could say, see, look, we told you they were trying to collude with the Russians.
Right, it's the old push in and pull out, They try and put some information in. They did the same thing to Papadopoulos. Drop in some information that they can try and get out later and say that I got that from a Russian. I think part of the reason why, for example, we haven't heard anything about Henry Greenberg, the fake name he used to come to me, is because
that doesn't sound very Russian, by the way.
It doesn't, but I can tell from his accent that he's Russian. I don't think they want to talk about him because I've proven it at DemocratDossier.com. You can see the 140 pages of research I did on this guy. We got copies of 14 of his FBI informant visas up there at DemocratDossier.com. This guy's clearly working for the FBI, and they're running away from him as fast as they can, just like they're running away from Professor Mifsud.
How so?
Well, I mean, it's Professor Mifsud, who someone clearly sent to George Papadopoulos to tell him about the fiction of, Russians having Hillary Clinton's emails. He then disappears. We don't even know where he is. George apparently thinks he's in Italy, but George has proof that this guy was actually working on behalf of the FBI. They don't want to talk about Mifsud either, just like they don't want to talk about Greenberg because they've been caught red-handed with him.
So what do you suspect the FBI was doing in 2016?
Well, they're a very aggressive group, the FBI. When they're after a crime, a real crime, they're not going to just send one spy, Stefan Halper, into a couple of volunteers who were in the policy shop at the campaign and call it a day. You know, they were sending informants and spies into the campaign, I'm guessing by the dozens, at least trying every angle that they could, because they wanted to stop Trump so badly, they wouldn't just do it with one or two guys.
Right? What were the motives that the Obama FBI might have had? In other words, if they legitimately thought that there were some bad actors in the campaign, I can understand them wanting to investigate. I do question why they never brought that to the attention of the candidate himself or others high up. Corey Lewandowski was on the show the other night. I said, did they ever approach you and say they were worried about spying? No, they never actually clued anyone in on this. So they had all these people running around trying to figure out whether you guys were somehow an agent, or the president, now president, was an agent of Russia. If that had been justified, I get it. But I think the big concern is it may not have been at all. And that's what the Attorney General needs to get to the bottom of, right?
It is. Yeah, I love Sidney Powell's book, License to Lie, an incredible book that goes into detail about how the main justice, the headquarters office of justice, gets very politicized, did during the Enron investigation, which is what she wrote about. But her book stands tall in this situation. Here's what's the problem. Here's what the problem is. They're highly political in the main justice office, and they had under Obama a perverse sense of right and wrong, and their role in what's right and wrong. That's what went wrong here. They went off on the deep end with some kind of strange leftist tilt, and they found themselves crossways with our rule of law and our legal traditions of this country. We're going to find out they just went off the rails because they were so concerned that the Democrats were going to lose control of the government.
Well, I'm looking forward to Thursday. I'm going to have a lot of reading to do when that Mueller report comes out. I'm sure you will too.
Absolutely.
I hope you come back on. I'd like to talk to you about it on Thursday. Michael Caputo, thank you for your time tonight.
Joining us tonight, Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton. Tom, great to have you with us.
Hey, Lou.
I want to, if you will, you know this, but I just want to make sure that our audience is aware of what Sarah Sanders had to say today in her own words about the upcoming Mueller report.
I don't think it is going to be damaging to the president, because the entire purpose of the investigation was whether or not there was collusion. Mueller was crystal clear in the fact that there was no collusion. We consider this to be case closed.
And that was obviously yesterday. Your thoughts? Is she right? Case closed?
Well, certainly for everyday Americans who understand that there is no collusion. And so the Mueller report will confirm that. There will be material in there placed by anti-Trump activists on Mueller's team to try to smear the president and suggest misconduct on obstruction.
Well, wait a minute. Let me interrupt you there. I thought that wasn't supposed to happen. If there's no charge, there's not going to be any of this salacious, ignorant posturing on the part of the radical left on that team of, 13 to 18 angry Democrats? Why is that being permitted by the Attorney General?
Well, I don't understand why. I never thought there should have been, quote, a Mueller report. Either there were no indictments or there were indictments, and we didn't need an explanation one way or another. An op-ed from anti-Trump activists about the president's conduct as president in firing James Comey, over which he did he did a Hall of America a favor in firing James Comey.
Absolutely.
So the idea that the Justice Department would come in and second-guess his personnel decision is beyond their powers as Justice Department bureaucrats and attorneys. The AG, frankly, should have never allowed them to begin putting pen to paper there. That being said, the overwhelming evidence is there was no obstruction. Obviously, if they could have made the case, they would have. And the big news here is that the Russia hoax has been exposed. The deep state coup cabal has to focus on something else now, like you mentioned, the taxes.
Can you believe that, by the way? Is that not the most idiotic thing you've ever heard of? There's no requirement by law that the president divulge his taxes. He basically told everybody to go to hell when he was campaigning. Why should the answer be any different now?
This would be an unprecedented abuse of the IRS by Congress to target a president. It's nothing like this has ever happened before, and this shows that the president has been under siege. You know, we have to thank the stars that the Mueller operation is over, because the president has been under a siege, the presidency's been under siege, our republic's been under siege for 2 years, despite Mueller and his operatives knowing for at least a year that there was no Russia collusion, yet they allowed this to continue to fester to make the president look bad. There's going to have to be not only accountability for how the Mueller operation began, but how it operated.
How it operated, and that's obviously, that itself is not yet part of the investigation, but certainly it is a focal point now of the Office of Inspector General at the Justice Department to focus on how this all began in the first place. That, we expect that report, in the next 60 days? That is going to be, to me at least, the far more interesting report.
I think it will be, but remember, it will be more narrowly focused, at least that's what we're led to believe, on the FISA warrant applications, the shady applications that Mueller, by the way, benefited from and used. The Attorney General has got to take a broader view as to what went on. Remember, the FISA warrants were only one aspect of the spy campaign against President Trump. Right. It included leaks, it included political bias by Strzok, Page, McCabe, etc. And of course, they were trying to entrap the Trump team by launching spies against the Trump campaign. Never in American history has there been such a spy effort against a candidate and abuse of power by an administration targeting its political opposition. Never before. Not Nixon, not Johnson, never before. And Barack Obama, this is his legacy, this corruption.
Hopefully he and his administration will be the focal point of a much more significant and enduring investigation than has plagued this president, innocent throughout.
None of it would have happened but for Barack Obama's permission, and look, he condoned it. He certainly was running it out of the White House. The text messages show that, and the big dossier meeting just before President Trump was inaugurated included Obama, Biden, Susan Rice, James Comey. I'd like to see those four come under oath and answer some questions about what they knew and when about this false dossier.
Yeah, I just want to see the investigative conclusion with those four people centrally prominent in it all. I'll even pass on having to decide whether at this time they chose to tell the truth. Tom Fitton, thanks so much. Appreciate it as always.
Thank you.
Good to see you.